Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the F124 Driver Career Mode here with the Haas F1 team. Headed to round 16 of the first season on the heels of a pretty decent result out in Zandvoort. Didn't keep our podium up, but we did manage to grab some decent points. Now we head over to the Temple of Speed in Monza. So a very, very high-speed track. Very fun one I enjoy driving quite a bit. But we do have what looks to be the inklings of rain in the race. Qualifying shows a nice little sun icon. The race does have some of those drips coming from the clouds, but there's still sun in the background, so at least looks to be mixed conditions in this particular one. We'll have to take a look at the actual messages in order to see if it is, according to the detail, some full rain. But we are starting to close on the back of George Russell in the championship points. I believe we are 16 points back of him in the Mercedes. Constructors-wise, we're 100 and some odd points off the back of Mercedes, mostly because Nico has only scored 2 points this far. However, it wasn't until this last race in Zandvoort we really took a step forward clear of the midfield cars in the performance developments. However, there is still Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Aston Martin all rated higher than us. So if Nico's finishing where the car is expected, he's still going to be out of the points. However, car does have performance that's there. It's possible. He has moved forward and scored some points with low ratings further from the top 10. But we'll just have to wait and see what turns out in Monza. Real stress on the engines. We'll see if anybody's taking engine penalties in this one. Maybe give us a few extra positions in qualifying. But we'll make with it what we can. And, of course, there is that little potential rain somewhere in the race that could throw a wrench into the entire thing. But let's take a look at the more detailed messages and see if they can tell us more about what kind of weather we're expecting. Alrighty. So let's take a look and see weather forecast. We do have some developments on the way. Just a tiny bit of rain kind of at the late stage of the race. So should be an interesting one. We do have some developments that have arrived. We have a couple goals still to finish. Obviously finished better than our teammate and drive a lap in 3 different sessions. That'll be finished as soon as we start up our qualifying session. See, has anybody else made big moves headed into Monza? Aston Martin, Ferrari have raised their game up just a little bit. So they are putting a little more gap on us. But now it is the very important time to get good engine components into the car. Get off those practice ones. Get on to some more fresh components. Depending on how qualifying goes, Monza is often a track that I have taken penalties at in the past. But we will see.
For over a century, the Temple of Speed has all come down to moments like this. Driver versus the stopwatch to set the grid for the Grand Prix. It is qualifying at Monza.
So here we are winding it up for our first flying lap of qualifying here at the circuit in Monza. So headed down to turn 1, opening up that rear wing. For some reason, not using the overtake button. Interesting choice on my part. Not sure what I was doing, but hey, past me was interesting. So just about the 100-meter board, really drop the anchors on for the first chicane. Get the car in, out, rotated. I wonder if I was just running with no overtake to see what kind of battery usage I would have for the final run. Potentially. I don't know. It's been a little bit since I actually drove this race, and maybe I just didn't remember. Maybe I was doing something smart. Who on earth really knows? It's not me. But now, through the Lesmo's turn, Lesmo 1, nice and banked into that corner. And then Lesmo 2, trying to make sure you keep it nice and tidy on the run out. Opening up that DRS as we head down the hill towards the Ascari chicane. Reprofiled curbs in real life. Still nice tall sausages all over the place here in the game, so you got to be a little bit careful with what you're using. Oh, there I am. Now I'm using the overtake button, so maybe I just forgot. used a lot of it down that back straight, so find some time there. And then on the power through Parabolica, try and get the car straightened out as we head across the line. And it is provisional P2, but nearly 6/10 off. Now P3 is Perez crosses the line just behind us. So as we get back out for our final run of the session, you can see we've fallen down to P13 in this one. So winding up, this time using some of that overtake mode before to get the car up to a higher speed, and you'll see that'll gain us a good chunk, even though we're not using any more of it down the front straight. So found over 1/10 of a second there into turn 1, turn 2, the Redifilio chicane, find almost 1/4 of a second overall, so about another 1/10.5 through there. Now Curva Grande, not using any overtake mode, trying to build some of that battery back up for the last run, as I think it's most beneficial on your run down to Parabolica. So good run through the second chicane. And now through the Lesmos as the track is gripping up a bit. Now 4/10 found. Verstappen goes to the 18.6s. Perez actually pips the pole position provisionally on an 18.1 or 6.1. So a little faster than Verstappen, but now into Ascari, really trying to attack the curbs a little more on the power. Leclerc 18.417. We've slid down to P15 now. Everybody's crossed the line. We are going to find some time if we can just hook up the Parabolica. So it looks like an okay run through there. Not the best, but we have burned all of our battery. So we are losing time. Over deployed early in the lap. We lose a bit at the end, but we do still find about 3.5 tenths. It puts us up into a P10 starting position, barring any kind of penalties for engines for anybody else out there. But Leclerc takes pole position. Perez P2, Verstappen in third. We got Fernando Alonso up in the top 5. So Lance Stroll just behind us in P12. He should be doing better than that Aston Albon. A good result from him in the Williams. Nico down in P14, where we often see him.
Monza, the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. Today we look forward to the Italian Grand Prix. This place is all about speed. It is a unique challenge. You've got the chicane at turn 1, the Variante Ascari at turns 8, 9 and 10, and the Parabolica to conclude things at 11. Top speeds pushing 215 miles per hour. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Russell, Hamilton, Oldtimer, Albon, Stroll, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Gasly, Joe, Ocon, Tsunoda, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And we welcome you to the commentary box overlooking the circuit. I'm Alex Jakes, and I'm joined by Anthony Davidson. So they've got lots of team members to get to know, to win over, and to get working for them. How do you go about doing that? It's really great to see team and driver working so well together. But there's always improvements that you can get in. Now, those final hours before a race, did you have a routine?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
We've got a great chance of getting another points finish in this race. Keep it clean and hopefully we can work our way up the field.
Well, after talking about the possibility of engine penalties for people moving us forward, nobody's taking any engine penalties. So, looks like it's going to be a medium to hard race, potentially. Seeing if the softs can do anything. I don't believe so. Might be able to do the reverse strategy just like we did in Zandvoort. Looks to be pretty competitive still with the hard onto the medium, but I think it's just, it might be a little better to go mediums first and undercut. Yeah, it looks like we can gain just a little bit of time there. So we will go with the traditional strategy, but here we are on the grid. The 5 red lights are up, waiting for them to go out, and they go a little slow on the reaction and a little bit of a bog at the start, but a bad start for the McLaren of Piastri ahead of us. We're down the inside of the lot of them, so we managed to kind of trade off. Big lockup from the Ferrari ahead of us. I believe that'll be Carlos Sainz. As there's some wheel banging between ourselves and Russell, getting through side by side the opening chicane. A good run out of the corner, and now using that battery to close up to the back of Hamilton. So can we have another big lunge up into? No, we're going to lift off, save a little bit into the second chicane, the De La Roggia chicane. I can just now remember the name of it, which sometimes escapes me. So as usual, it's going to be key to keep pace with the cars ahead at the early stages of the race, and then we can really start to wind up and attack them later on. I tend to be decent on my tires compared to the AI. Depends on the circuit though, of course. But here around Monza, a track I enjoy so much and am quite familiar with. I'm looking for the opportunity. You can see we've already made 2 positions from the start. Bad start for the McLaren definitely didn't help them out. But we managed to lock ourselves into P8, and they're now just kind of hitting the settle into the race phase. We've got George Russell behind us. We've got Hamilton ahead, so we're in a nice little Mercedes sandwich. Using the ERS in a hot lap mode because it doesn't harvest so much at the end of the straights, which is really where all the harvesting is done by the AI. So we can have a little bit of speed at the end of straights compared to the AI. If we're in hot lap mode, we just can't use our overtake button very often. Looks like Nico's scrapping it 3 wide through the opening chicane a little ways back there. It was a little bit of a traffic jam getting through turns 1 and 2 on this second lap. No positions to be made for us there, but we are still nice and tight with this lead pack of cars. It looks like a move in the background there. Couldn't really tell who that was. Hopefully that's Nico making his way up the grid a little bit more. So now with the DRS assistance, rear wing flips open. We do have George Russell really sticking to the back of us through the Lesmo corners, but we do have the straight line speed that is necessary to hold him off for the time being. Although down into this run towards Parabolica, the AI gets a very good release off of Ascari for some reason. It seems to get some good middle phase drive, but alas. We'll press on. 27 lap race, good chunk away to go. And of course, always worrying about that looming threat of the rain that is projected. Of course, sun is out and it's nice and beautiful at the moment, so nothing big to worry about at this stage, but that little short shower of rain could turn into, could come early, turn into something more, and could be something we have to deal with. It could be completely irrelevant. But let's jump ahead, lap 7 of 27 now. George Russell has made his way past us, but we have cleared the gap. Valtteri Bottas now 3 seconds back, so it's not a huge one to deal with. Side by side, it looks like there's some fighting between Red Bull and Mercedes up ahead. We have managed to save quite a bit of battery, and now having to harvest quite a bit as Norris. Have to make a late change to the maneuver. We're past Russell, we're past Norris, using that extra battery power. So it looks like Norris probably had to burn some battery in a fight earlier on and had to go into harvest mode through Curva Grande, which gave us an excellent opportunity to box George Russell in and then make the return move. Big slide through Lesmo 1, though. Nearly a spin out. The back end got very, very hairy for us. Don't know how I kept that not pointing towards the inside wall, but we managed to just about hang on to the DRS to the car ahead, so we managed to close it back up. And I think I was asking about the driver behind to see if they had any kind of damage or anything that was slowing them up. It doesn't sound like it. Just seems like it was tires, no issues. So they were just fighting quite a bit. So we're starting to stretch out. Ferrari well in the lead of the race. That should be, I believe, Charles Leclerc up there. And now we can spend a few laps just harvesting some battery power. It looks like, in fact, the battle continues between Red Bull and Mercedes ahead. So we're going to set up, maybe try and go for a run. A little snap of oversteer getting out on the power. Lots of wheel spin getting out of the corner. So it's really going to harm our ability to make a move, but we're still going for it. I didn't back out. So battery deployed. Perez defensive to the inside. We're just going to box Hamilton in and get past, and that actually allows us to complete an objective. So Perez not returning to the racing line, I think, actually allowed Hamilton to maintain that position. Since he was boxed in by Perez on the inside, it allowed us to get far enough ahead that we could kind of just take the racing line at the second part of the chicane and clear him nicely. So we are going to be low on battery. We're actually turning deployment back down to medium to start doing some harvesting on the straights and try and just stick with the Red Bull of Sergio Perez. But we're moving ahead slowly in this one, bit by bit, picking off cars. So our race pace seems to be quite decent around the track here. The real question, though, is that big old gap that the Ferrari is starting to put out front. Maybe he's going out too hard. He's going to have to pit early. But you can see he's well clear. And now there's Verstappen making a move on the other Ferrari. So rear wing open. It looks like a good run for Hamilton down towards turn one. We are going to move have a little look to the inside of Perez, but it's also half defensive. I was harvesting battery down there. And oh, spin out. Too much rear wing for Lando Norris and a big pile up in turn one. Everybody's having to slam on the brakes, and a full safety car is called. So here we are, lap 10 of 27, and I believe it is going to be time to come in for the pit lanes, and everybody appears to be doing so. So looking to go on to the hard tires to go to the end of this race. Still uncertain what the weather is going to be involved. It's like a double stack going on Ferrari, so we may be able to grab a free position off of Sainz there because of it. Everybody coming in. 2.5 second change in. Indeed, we happen to get out ahead of Carlos Sainz, puts us up into P4. So jumping ahead, lap 12 of 27 now. We're getting ready to go back to starting the race. Tires aren't perfectly up to temperature, but it's very difficult at these slower speeds to get them up to temperature around here. Got them close. So turn one will be a little bit tricky, but we should get them up to speed relatively quickly. In fact, a very good release off the corner. Have to, just like Zandvoort, release off the throttle as we were about to sail past Alonso, which would have been illegal. Try and make him defend the inside. He is just going to hold on to the outside, the racing line. So I was trying to dummy him to try and take the outside line from him, pull alongside. And Carlos Sainz, after the double stack shuffling him back, now out of the session. It looks like he's been pulled off to the side, though, in a position that it's not going to trigger any kind of safety car intervention. So he should be all right there to continue green flag racing. Sun has definitely dropped out the sky, much more cloudy. So we're coming up on the halfway point of this race, and it's starting to look like that rain might be coming potentially a little sooner than expected. Although a little hard to tell at this stage. We're having to use a fair bit of battery. AI able to get their tires up to temperature a little quicker than we were. But we should be just about in the window for the next lap now when the DRS becomes available. But Hamilton, a very good run off of Parabolic. You can see we're even using overtake and how quickly he's able to close it to the back of us. He's going to have a look to the inside. It's not going to be enough there, so we're just going to close the door, not give him the space. We're going to go straight for the apex, make him back out of it. He was starting to get just the shredlets of a wing alongside, but I wasn't going to allow that from him. DRS now enabled, and the car of Carlos Sainz is clear to battle up at the front. Side-by-siders Verstappen and Leclerc. A little bit of contact between the two of them. That'll help us out because we can now go a little bit more heavy into ERS recovery through Curva Grande here. Not burn the battery, and that way we'll have the opportunity to attack as we get towards Alonso. In fact, a little bit of lift and coast being able to be done. Maybe try and hit this fuel target. I usually don't worry too much about the fuel objectives. If I can get them done, great, but oftentimes they require too much lift and coast. Wide through Lesmo 1 cost me some momentum. Apparently it was slow enough that I didn't pick up any kind of track limits warning for it. But that does put Hamilton right on our gearbox. We do have the help of DRS. We are able to burn a little bit of overtake to open the gap, but let's see if that puts us in any kind of danger down towards Parabolica, because as you can see, slipstream quite nice for the Mercedes behind us, but just enough use of the battery. We're going to start turning up into hot lap mode again as we've got our battery up around 50%. We don't have to go full recovery and clip early. So now we can just kind of settle in and once again be looking at the cars ahead of us. Rear wing flips open. Verstappen going for the move on Leclerc. Looks like Alonso also going 3 wide. Side by side, Verstappen and Alonso into turn 1. That's going to cost them a good chunk of time. A little contact nose to tail with Leclerc, slower than I expected him to be, and I think he might have actually done a teensy bit of damage to our front wing. Yeah, that end plate's got a bit of a bite taken out of it. Shouldn't impact the performance just yet. Should be mostly cosmetic at this stage, but not something you want to be doing. So we jump ahead, lap 19 of 27. We actually managed to succeed on the fuel target, and more fighting going up ahead. We're going to go around the outside of Alonso. We're going to have to really kind of clamber over the curbs, get the car really slowed down. Does give him the slightly better exit off of turn 2 there, but we have the slipstream. We're going to try and pull around the outside, use the slipstream of the Red Bull ahead. Can we clear him? We're not able to fully clear Alonso. We're kind of boxed in by Verstappen. We're going to try and go around the outside, and a little bit of a pinch of Alonso there. But we managed to get ourselves up into the podium places, and the weather still shifting. Much darker now, much more cloudy as we head down towards Ascari. So we're just waiting to see what kind of impact the weather's going to have. We've still got 8 laps left to go in this race, lap 19 of 27, so just under that 10-lap margin. And now we're really trying to potentially, race pace-wise, been right there with the leaders ever since the safety car. So really, at this point, trying to hunt down our first win of the season. We've had a couple of P2s where we weren't really in contention to catch the leader, but this time on the podium positions and in a position to potentially catch the leaders. So especially if this keeps happening and they keep fighting just ahead. So Verstappen trying to go around the outside of Leclerc, gives him the inside. He's going to be slow on the exit. It's a move we've made a few times now. This time, though, we're not using that overtake mode, so it doesn't look like we're going to be trying to go for a move into P2 just yet. So we're settling in. Big lifting coast there. Lots of extra battery able to be harvested by doing that, though, so that'll put us in very good position for the next little while, as it'll take quite a bit to burn that amount of battery off. In fact, still running in ERS deploy medium. Probably should think about putting it back up to hot lap again, as in fact, that's what I do right there. Hot lap back enabled. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle. Verstappen trying to find a way. Big lockup from the two of them. Have to really put the anchors on. Nowhere really to get through. And then getting back on the power, rear end gets very loose. So a double lockup from Verstappen and Leclerc into Ascari. We have to throw the anchors on significantly to avoid any kind of contact. Doesn't allow us the opportunity to make any kind of move, but just keeping the car pointed in the right direction after that, especially trying to get back on the power and the rear end stepping out on us. Got very, very interesting. But here's a good run from Leclerc. We're going to actually think about following him through. And the rear's locked up a bit. A little contact into the back of Verstappen. As we kind of unsure of what I wanted to do there. I got myself kind of caught out between go for the move and not go for the move, and left myself in a very awkward position getting the car slowed down. But let's settle in, calm ourselves. Let's get back to the job at hand, which is attempting to get that P1 position in this race. We're starting to get to the death of it. Should be kind of around the time that the rain's expected to come. Of course, in the career modes, I only use approximate weather patterns or weather forecasting, so it's likely that it could be no weather. But Verstappen sweeps around the outside of Leclerc. That really compromises his run through Ascari. That might give us an opportunity. We are right on the gearbox, so tucked into the slipstream. It's going to be a very good opportunity. We're pulling to the outside to try and go around the outside of Leclerc. Verstappen, though, is right there, so it does just kind of take us offline. We are going to have to slot back into this train. Alonso all over our gearbox, but now Verstappen very much at risk. We swing wide to the outside immediately, make our presence known up past Leclerc, up past Verstappen, into the lead of the race, now under braking into turn 1. Leclerc tucking in behind. Side by side is Hamilton and Verstappen, as Verstappen climbing over the curbs of turn 2 and into the lead of the race we go. Nice little double move on the pit straight, but now trying to run away because now we are going to be the one who does not have that DRS help down towards Ascari and down towards the Rettifilio chicane.
All over the place right now. We've got to have consistency. Come on, we can do better than this.
The next goal given to us is an average lap time, which our best lap is 4.2 seconds clear, so shouldn't be too hard. And there you can see the speed of Leclerc with that DRS help. We aren't going to fight him. We're going to let him go nice and through. Just tuck in, use, get the DRS on him down the next pit straight.
We've lost a position. That's us down a place.
And now it kind of turns into the waiting in. Don't let Hamilton get involved as much as we can. We don't want to try and avoid being a part, the middle of the three-man sandwich into turn 1. But we do have to start thinking about what position we want to be in coming up on the last lap. So here we go. Rear wing open. Leclerc defends to the inside. It's going to make us go the long way around. A little contact. He's got tight to the inside. Now just trying to get the power down smoothly. Leclerc gets a little better off the exit, but we are using battery to sweep around the outside of him in Curva Grande. He's going to tuck into the slipstream. That will allow us to return to the racing line. We can dial back ERS back to medium, try and harvest some at the end of these straights once we have the position ahead. Lap 23 of 27. At this point, it's going to be very much, if it's rainy, it depends on how hard it rains. It's going to be a very, very tough choice as to whether we are going to make a stop for wet tires. Leclerc, not the best run past us down into Ascari. It's actually put him a bit wide and allows Hamilton to get very involved. So we have to still kind of go side by side with him through the Ascari chicane. Not a nice, clean, orchestrated swap of positions like we did the last lap. Hamilton very much putting the pressure on, diving up the inside of Parabolica. We have to leave him the space as he's there, and that's going to put us a little offline. Now Verstappen getting the run side by side with us. It does give us the DRS on Leclerc, so let's see if we can't remedy this, but there is a serious fight, and they're bunching up on the inside, so that does give us a clean run around the outside on the racing line into turn 1, and we managed to shuffle our way back to P1. Not the way we necessarily wanted to do it, was hoping for just a nice, easy, in a straight line pass of Leclerc, but yeah, got very, very, very hairy there for a second. As we're getting to the closing stages of this race, this top 5 group of cars, anybody in this top 5 could be in any one of the podium positions. Somebody's going to get left off of it. And there's the rain. Raindrops starting to fall on the circuit. The question is, how wet is it going to get here? It's going to be very much trying to manage these hard tires as we go. And the track becomes more and more slick moving forward. So based on how the car felt through Ascari, how it's going through Parabolica is really going to dictate the decision that needs to be made. Is the track getting wet quick enough, or are we going to be staying out? All 5 of the front cars staying out. Verstappen, not a great run, actually kind of pulled in a bit late. But this time, Verstappen is through. Leclerc is through. They are going to be side by side into the first chicane. We're going to just kind of try and cut back, get good drive out of the corner as the track is losing grip the whole way. DRS is still enabled at this point. It's lap 25 of 27. It looks like there might have been a little bit of a pile up in turn 1 there for a second. Or they were just going slow. So DRS is still enabled and trying to get the right foot down, but it looks like they are judging the amount of grip left just a little bit better than me so far. Can I be brave is the key, and is there enough grip left in the tires? So here we are headed down to Ascari. Another lap's worth of water falling on the circuit. Doesn't appear to be getting too wet, but slow through the start of the chicane is Leclerc there. Verstappen closes right up to the gearbox. Let's see what this lap time ends up looking like in the wet conditions. If it's still within the 22s, 23s, should be no problem. If it starts to creep up towards the 24s, 25s, could start to get very interesting at the end of this one. It's 23.5, so still not a bad lap time. DRS enabled on this penultimate lap. Verstappen going for the lead of the race. Leclerc slots into P2. No real space for us to go in, so really thinking about saving up some battery while also staying close to this lead pack. Can we make a lunge on the last lap, get ourselves into the lead, and then defend the rest of the way around the circuit? So into the second chicane. Definitely starting to feel the grip conditions coming down. It's getting a bit hairy out here. But it's hurting everybody equally as far as overall grip goes. So Verstappen 0.8 of a second ahead, Leclerc 0.5. So still a very tight battle. Hamilton, Alonso on our gearbox, just as close as we are to the cars ahead. Side by side through Ascari, having a look again. Leclerc backs out. Doesn't think it's worth the move. Now, the thought here is I need to get past Leclerc here, try and set up a run on Verstappen down into turn one. So here we are. Battery burning around the outside of Leclerc. Can we make it stick? Back end trying to come around. We do manage to get the power down. Battery is just about empty. DRS open. We are having to harvest. So Leclerc, is he going to go for the inside? We are having a little look to the inside of Verstappen, who's defending. We're going to try and go around the outside as we gave Leclerc quite the squeeze. Now back end, rear tires struggling for traction, fighting, but we managed to get the power down ahead of Verstappen. Now, does Leclerc or Verstappen have an answer down into Curva Grande here and into the De La Roggia chicane? Verstappen, a little look to the inside, but not sticking his nose in. Rear end locking up as the track loses grip. We are just trying to save battery so we can deploy it down the last couple of straights. Another kerfuffle in turn one. Yellow flags there as there's another mistake, looks like from McLaren, and they are sorting themselves out. But now Verstappen with DRS. We are burning all the battery we can in defensive position to the inside of the Ascari chicane on the brakes. He's going to have the outside. He's onto the curbing there. We managed to go around the outside, leave just about enough space for him. And now the last big run. Have to try and defend into Parabolica. We are on low deployment mode now as we're under 10% battery, trying to save up just a little bit more into Parabolica. Car not behaving very well. We managed to get out of the corner, and after a last lap overtake for the lead of the race in defense, we win our first Grand Prix of the season.
Fantastic drive. That's just fantastic. Amazing. You deserve that race win. Well done, mate.
They made great use of the clear air today then and didn't allow anyone to exploit the slipstream behind them. What a great win here at Monza.
You always look back at a race like this and think, if I'd just made that mistake there or locked up here, there would have been contact. And every one of those overtakes is a moment where you have to absolutely nail it, perfect it, and that's exactly what they're able to do today. Great stuff indeed.
The quality and fantastic result of the Haas team will have been noticed by everyone out there today. You can see why everyone's taking them so seriously. These drivers will be hot property by the end of the season.
So our first time standing on the top step of the podium, we are going to be joined by Verstappen and Leclerc. But after we finally got our car kind of into the mix area performance-wise of the top 5 teams, making it top 6 teams, so pretty close at the top, we do manage to grab a race win. Now, it's definitely helped by being at a track
an
I was
absolutely
very
wild
familiar
weekend of
with.
Formula
Nico
One action.
Hülkenberg moved up
Can't wait to see
significantly, up
what's next.
7 spots for a P14 finish. And his fastest lap, only 0.2 slower than my fastest lap in the race. So a very good result for the team overall. Very proud of Nico as the car improved getting up there. We are clear of George Russell now and starting to look at the back of Oscar Piastri in the points. Still 124 points off of Mercedes. So some work left to do.
This is the perfect opportunity to show the world why you belong in this sport.
But we have the Baku Grand Prix coming up next. A couple of developments. Let's see if they will succeed. And hopefully they can come across nicely. We do have a rivalry with George Russell, which we've now gotten ahead of. So we might be able to get that clean. So let's see what kind of specialist goals we can set. Should be a good one there. 6 cars on track. Should be able to do overtake mode for 45 seconds. Absolutely doable. Get that done in practice very easily. 12 laps during a race weekend can get it done pretty much in practice and qualifying. Don't have to worry about any race DNF causing that one to fail. So should be able to select that one. Come on, pass me. Why are you even thinking about penalties? Just click it. You're gonna do something dumb. 3 sessions without damaging your car was the first one. That one's a little iffy around Baku because there's a chance I'll probably bounce against a wall just a little bit. We're up to 74 overall on our driver rating, so definitely clear of our target. Still have quite a few races left to go in this season. So you can see now the line that makes up that top group very close together. 600 points available to us. We've got a discount on the front wing flaps, but not enough to afford it. And still no real ability to afford anything for chassis. I think we should be able to afford the fuel upgrade at 600 points. I believe that one's pretty heavily discounted at this point. Just now got to think about which one we want to go with. And apparently past me was very slow. So fuel efficiency, ECU, considering the rush, maybe we can get it ahead for Baku. Yeah, let's chance it. Let's go for it. And there are a few durability upgrades available, but we can't quite afford them. So you can see we're up amongst it. We're near that top group, definitely clear of the bottom group, but our first win of the season after two other podium finishes, managed to grab that top step once already in this season. So the weekly resources roll in. ECU is successful, so that rush development plus 2 other developments successful. So our entire upgrade package makes it for the Baku race weekend. Should be an interesting one. Another high-speed circuit, a circuit I've driven a decent number of times, but is always a challenge. The tiniest misstep is going to spell the end of your race around the Baku City circuit. But thank you all for joining me once again. We're getting kind of towards the tail end of season 1, which should be an interesting finish. Hopefully, we'll see what kind of off-season developments take place. I'm already filming, driving and filming season 2. So I'm going to try and pump out the finishes of season 1 in a more rapid fashion. But thank you all for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.